Hi everyone, Future Drake here. Before we get started with tonight's episode of Dice Trays Action, I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you guys about some really exciting announcements. First, thank you so much for all of the support that you've given us, being here, sharing our channel, and giving us the opportunity to do the things we love. With that said, we're going to be running some really exciting events over the course of the summer. We're going to be doing the Tales from the Table Reproductive Rights Charity Drive. And what that's going to include is a number of really fantastic games, including things like Veil of the Void, Avatar Legends, Roots, Legends of the Five Rings, a couple of D&D one-shots, and a never-before-seen really exciting Lancer homebrew setting. We're going to be bringing more info on that to y'all in the coming days. Uh, this is all going to be to support the National Network of Abortion Funds. With the way things have been going on right now, it's really important that we do what we can to help people who don't have or are at risk of losing access to things that should never be restricted because, bodily autonomy is incredibly important. So we're going to be raising money through July and August in order to try and do our best to help people who may not be fortunate enough to have those options otherwise. We've got a bunch of amazing people who are going to be joining us for these games, running them, playing in them. We're going to be working on getting some panels together as well. We might do a live episode of Roll for Perspective. And another thing I'm really excited to announce is we're planning on a Day of Tales, which is going to be a 12-hour live stream where we're going to see a lot of creators and GMs and DMs and players running one-shot games over the course of the day, all to raise money for reproductive rights. We're also going to be doing some giveaways. There'll be more information on that soon. If you'd like to be a part of this, you can go over to my Twitter at TheLionKnight42, and I have a form on there that should be pinned to my account, so you can find it pretty easy, and you can fill that out. It's a casting call form, and if you'd like, that will grant you the opportunity to join us in any of these endeavors that we're working on. We're delighted to have you, and even if you can't, word of mouth, financial donations, your support, all of these things are incredibly important and meaningful. So that's all I wanted to go over today. Thank you so much for being here and checking this out and watching us on whatever medium you do. And there'll be more info in the coming days. Thank you again. Enjoy the new episode of Dice Trays Action. Back to you, Past Drake. With that, let's get into our recap and then we'll get to our session proper. The last time that we joined our intrepid group, they had just resolved the agreement to do a job for Galbraith Runelith, also known as the Hand, down in the walls, the seedier part of Southreach. And as a result, now had a new possible direction for where to go. From there, they decided to call it a night with Aksha, Toby, and Brory heading back to the Quiet Night, where they had rooms prepared for them, while Kunskap and Kirna returned to the front lawn of the Dorwind Guild Hall. Before the night ended, Kunskap put out his flag and prepped and did in fact have someone come calling, and was able to provide them perhaps not with fortune, but assistance nonetheless, which then prompted an interesting discussion between Girna and Kunskap about the nature of her runes, their runes, and what that might mean. Meanwhile, Brory was hard at work on some sort of new device, which hopefully we will get to see at some point at the early beginnings of such. Toby spent some time before bed ensuring that there were no ghosts or Girnas plaguing his room, And Aksha came to an interesting discovery that his master's journal may contain some kind of additional note, though obscured. The next day, the group meets with Valder Silverson to discuss the disappearances that had been going on through Southreach, ones that most had ignored or not even noticed had existed in the first place, though Valder himself was curious and concerned that there may be a pattern. So he brought to you a list of the names that he thought were involved or connected in their disappearances, and as previously agreed, left with you to do the footwork to look into and find out what was truly going on here in the city of Southreach. Based on a token found not too long ago, the group of you decided to go investigate the Temple of Ozanti up in the Civic District. And in doing so, met with an acolyte and were able to garner some information about when Moscow, Lena's son, had been here, and that he had not, in fact, gotten a third night of sleep as he had requested here, and instead had met with a nondescript female elf, but they were able to offer very little else of value. However, Kunskap took them up on the offer of a blessing with the caveat that they would accept one as well, which led to quite an interesting interaction between the two and a bit of bloodshed, though all in good faith. And at the same time, Toby began to grow his collection of Ozanti memorabilia, for lack of a better term. And so it is outside of the temple on the front steps that we rejoin our party.
That was not quite as much information as perhaps we would have liked.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, a little bit of something. We know we need to look for an elf, but
it was not much.
mm-mm.
So many elves. Could be almost anyone.
So, in theory, we could use that potion to find out the name of that elf.
Do we want to find out the name of the elf or of the investor? For they may not be one and the same.
That's what we have to figure out. What would probably be the most useful to us right now.
I think the investor, if we find them, would be more information than a friend of another disappeared person.
The elf may also have disappeared by now in the same way, in which case we would have nothing.
That makes me want to choose the investor even more.
Perhaps we should go and do this.
Well,
Toby will still drink the potion.
Then perhaps we should retire somewhere more private for the moment.
That's fine.
Gwinscop will attempt to find a alleyway that is a little secluded.
Sure, roll me a perception.
That is a 20. Dirty 20.
All right. Well, the Civic District is pretty busy, both because of the nature of itself with the temples and museum and other buildings that are functionaries as opposed to simply residential. Also, because it happens to be adjacent to the academic district and the financial district, very rarely will you find places that are particularly removed from the busyness. However, you do know that if you were to begin the walk back, you could probably cut into West Seat, maybe even Upper West Seat, and very likely, because it is so many residential areas, find some kind of alley or cutout there where you may be able to have a better chance of finding somewhere to be alone.
Well, we can either go back to the tavern, or I don't see why we need to be specifically secret about drinking a potion.
I do not either. The tavern is a long way away.
Then, Brory, I think we should just do it here.
Fair enough.
Does Brory give the potion to Toby?
I thought Toby should still have it.
Ah,
I figured you still had it all.
No, yeah,
Oh,
because
well.
Toby pushed it back.
Oh, okay, then yeah, he'll take it out and give it to. My bad.
Okay. What do I need to do? Just drink it?
Drink it and think of the person, and you should know their name.
So I need to only think of the investor, and I will have the investor's name.
And the investor should have your name. It's very weird magic.
Okay. So I open the potion and drink the potion and swallow while thinking of the investor.
Sure. So you open the potion, and as you bring it to your lips, it has this very distinct sort of lime flavoring, almost what we commonly would assume is, the way green smells, right? That, like, if you've ever had the green popsicle, like the Freezy Pop, it smells kind of like that. And when you drink it, it tastes like that as well. It also, though, feels a little bit almost electric on your tongue, and you drink it, and you're visualizing the concept of this person in your mind. And for a moment, you smell almost like a forest around you. You can even sort of hear birds chirping, and in your mind, you can see this lush, multicolored forest, just with these great sprawling trees, unlike anything you've ever seen or heard of before. And there's almost the sense of wonder and amazement just kind of built into this moment. And then you see a shimmer of movement off in the tree line, and it sort of vanishes, leaving behind this little shower of multicolored sparks. And then you feel something beside you, a hand, small, sort of rest on your shoulder for a moment. But before you can even think to move, it leans in and it whispers something to you. I'm going to send that to you in a moment. And then in an instant, it's gone.
So, assuming this potion has no lingering effects,
It does not.
Toby, like, his eyes like snap back open, and he goes to the rest of the group. He's like, colorful forest, Hadley. His name Hadley. Joseph Hadley.
who's heard that? Name seems familiar.
He's the Baron.
Yes.
So the investor is Baron Hadley. Crazy potion.
And you mentioned some kind of force. What was that about?
Yeah. Pretty colorful. Nothing I've ever seen before. Not in my entire journey here. Never seen forests like this. So many colors. So many sparkles. Like magic, but not potion magic. It's like nothing Toby has ever seen before. But the name Joseph Hadley. Harold Hadley.
It seems we have a baron to visit.
Indeed. Good job, Toby.
Thank you. Strange experience.
Has Kunskapsorker ever heard of an experience like this before?
So it's similar in basic principle to one of the many rituals that Kunskap's people use for doing sort of like I don't particularly want to use the term vision quests, but it's this concept of sending them out on a vision to see what the gods present to them, which is a pretty normal process for your people. But the forests usually that are in these visions are not what you would conventionally consider as these like gorgeous, sprawling, like pretty forests. It's usually a lot darker and the atmosphere is heavier, and there's a lot more of that sense of like loss and desire to return as opposed to this. So there are some similarities, but also very distinct and glaring differences.
Do we know where the Baron resides?
Somewhere in Ambergate, if I had to guess.
His family owns that alchemy shop. The bottle and gold, yes.
Yes.
So we can hit two birds with one stone, as they say.
Yeah.
We can both visit the Baron, and Toby will be able to. And Aksha, wasn't there an alchemist you wish to speak to as well?
I was supposed to look for my mentor's friend, Bryn Tolwyn, but they said he's not here. But I will ask about him there. They said they might have information. But I do remember someone saying that we should be careful not to bring up the Baron's son, who is also one of the missing.
Yes, his son Topher. Topher is missing.
Topher.
Yes. They said that the Baron had only recently healed from the loss, and it would be better not to bring it up to him.
Well, if we have questions and his son comes up, he might not answer things. So it might be good to keep him down. And also, and I don't want him to, he's going to know Toby's name. So maybe Toby, you should not mention your name. Until we understand Baron's connection to all this. Yes.
I will also point out that the Baron's son was not on the list that was given to us.
Oh, this is true. I actually didn't notice.
Perhaps he would keep it concealed, but why?
Well, it seems this is pretty known knowledge for everyone who we've talked to about this, and the Baron has been brought up. They already knew that the son was gone, so I don't think that this is particularly unknown news.
Then why would he not be on list?
Perhaps Valder simply did not put him on the list because he did not think he was connected. He
Yes.
can't even figure out that a bird is stealing pies.
Furthermore, there might be another case of a little bit more politics.
Yes.
From our understanding, no one really liked this individual, so perhaps no one really cares if this person comes back.
This is true. But it seems all paths lead to the Baron.
Well, let us go visit this alchemy shop and hopefully we can find the Baron within. Or find out where they are.
Yes.
Okay. So, heading to the Bottle and Gold, right? That's in Upper West Seat, which means it will be significantly less of a journey than it would be heading back all the way to East Seat. The travel that takes you into West Seat is actually kind of surprising. As you get there, as you start entering into the district proper, you realize relatively quickly the significant contrast between the way that buildings and homes look here as opposed to East Seat or the lower quarter or anywhere else. There's definitely a huge like uptick in quality of buildings. There's a lot less. There's a lot more maintenance being done. Things are in better condition, and even the colors are more vibrant. And the people seem to be of better dress, although again, not quite as fancy as you would find the noble people of Ambergate, but still very, very significantly better, more well off than the people in East Seat. As such, a lot of the shops and other places are also a lot larger and offer more interesting things in the windows. You see town criers occasionally calling things out, most of which means nothing to any of you. It's a lot of prices on things, expectations of delivery dates. Again, nothing particularly interesting. You do eventually, after asking one or two people the directions, do manage to find your way to this place, the Bottle and Gold. And the shop is a relatively small for the area, 2-story building with a flourish of script on a hanging sign at the top that says Bottle and with an ampersand gold. And then there is a like potion bottle with what looks like golden like glitter inside of water that is constantly sort of like shimmering down, especially as the sunlight hits it. And the windows of the shop are just piled different bottled potions, poultices, and like ingredients. When you enter, I assume you enter. Collectively, all of you go in, or is anyone waiting outside? Or okay, cool. So the group of you enter, and there are a couple people sort of walking around. It's a fairly large open space in the front with a few shelves that have very, very few things on them. And most of the things that are on there are what seem to be display items, as opposed to keeping their stocks up front. They have items you can bring up that are more representations of what they sell that you can then have them get for you. There's a winding staircase behind the counter that goes up to a second floor, although what's up there you don't really know. It's a pretty simple iron staircase with a railing. The place does look like it's in good shape though, and you can pick out in through the crowd of this open space in the back at the counter are two people who seem to be having a conversation on either side of it. Behind the counter is a 50 or so year old human woman in a smock. It's sort of dirtied a little bit. She has a pair of like white gloves and a pair of goggles pushed up that sort of displace this like wild, wavy, dark brown hair. making it clear that she's just kind of shoved them up out of the way. She's in pretty good shape for her age and seems to be in the midst of a jovial conversation with a smile on her face with the gentleman behind, in front of the counter, whose back is the only thing you can see. But he's a pretty large individual, maybe not by Toby or Rory standards particularly, but for what seems like a human, he's pretty large with wide shoulders. His head is a bit of a square with short cropped gray white hair, and he's dressed in some very nice fineries, and his voice sort of booms over the rest of the crowd, making it stand out a bit. And while you can't pick out the words unless you're actively trying, it's pretty clear that voice is coming from that individual.
I will get closer to them, probably close enough to hear the conversation, but not necessarily to interrupt them.
Sure. As you get closer, you hear again the what you assume is the alchemist behind the counter is laughing a bit at whatever was just said, and then the gentleman goes, "But you know, we've only really got 5 days until Prosperity Day. We have to make sure that everything's ready to go, tip top shape." And he like knocks on the counter, and as he does, you can hear what sounds like a lot of metal against the counter. As you shift a little bit better to get a better angle on this gentleman, you can see he's on the older side with his eyes kind of set in and a lot of crow's feet and wrinkles underneath, and his hands are adorned with all sorts of rings. You also notice a chain sort of running from along his vest down into his pocket, and he just kind of laughs. But hopefully it will be the best Prosperity Day we've ever seen. His voice will be better the next time, but I cannot do it very well right now because I have a cold.
There's a counter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk up to that counter and just kind of like stop next to them and just stand there.
Sure. The alchemist is the first to look over, but relatively quickly after her, the large man looks over and almost immediately there's this big smile that appears on his face, like teeth bearing friendly smile, and he like reaches out and he puts a hand on your shoulder, and he reaches out his other hand as if to like shake yours, and he goes, "How's it going, good sir? I don't think we've met, but what can she help you with here today?" And if you take his hand, he shakes it very vigorously.
Yes, I take his hand.
Yeah, he shakes it very vigorously, and he like clenches on your shoulder just a touch, not threateningly at all, but that very friendly, almost familiar like shake of the hand.
Hi. Are you alchemists?
Well, she is.
And then I kind of let go of his hand and pull mine back,
Yeah,
and just turn to face her, kind of ignoring him now.
her eyes go wide.
Hello. I'm looking for an alchemist. Perhaps you can help me.
Perhaps I can.
I am Toby. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Kaina.
Hi. Toby has a problem, but Toby has lots of questions. Would you mind answering Toby's questions?
Well, and she looks over at the gentleman, and he just kind of nods to her, and she's like, "Oh, sure, I don't mind as long as I don't have any other patrons I have to help. What can I do for you?" And he just sort of stands there and crosses his arms over his very wide chest and just watching this with again with like a smile almost. He's bemused.
What is it that your potions do?
Well, that depends on the kinds of potions you're looking for. We've got a little bit of everything. Make them all
Can-
myself.
Can your potions heal?
Some of them can, yeah.
Can your potions kill?
Well, those wouldn't be potions, would they? Those would be poisons. We don't do that here.
Do you have a potion of identifying fish?
And both of the people at the counter, along with a number of people inside the shop, all just sort of turn to look over at this strange armored woman screaming about identifying fish. And she goes, I'm sorry, I'm with someone right now, but if you need some help, give me a moment. And no, I don't think I can do that for you. I've never. How do you even go? And she looks over at the big guy and goes, "How do you even go about identifying fish?" And he goes, "It's why I pay you."
So I'm gonna turn and like gesture at the rest of the group. It's like, oh, these are my friends. They are with me.
Oh well, and the large guy is like, "Well, come on over. There's no reason to stay all the way back there. Besides, you're just blocking foot traffic like that."
So as they're coming over, I'm gonna fish into my bag and pull out my container with the dead fish in it, open it up and say, have you seen anything like this before?
And she looks over and she's like, no, I can't say that I have. And the other guy goes, interesting. That's not from around here, is it?
No. And is not supposed to look like this.
No, it is definitely not. That's very odd. Where did you find such a thing?
From very far, from where I am from the lakes up north.
Oh, the north. Great place. Only been there once.
Oh, well, Toby has only been here once this time.
Then I guess we
Right
have
now.
something in common.
Yes, but it turns back to the alchemist. It's like, would you be able to cause this?
Like in other fish.
Yes.
I suppose if you had the right ingredients, you could probably do something like that. But again, that would be more like a poison than a potion, and that's not really what I'm into. So could I? Probably with the right work and some practice. Would I? Not in your life.
Could you fix this?
Well, it's dead. I can't do that. Most people can't fix that. That's a problem you'll have to take up with maybe in the Domestica, but I don't know if they'll do it for a fish.
So as you're saying this, like I poke in by like the black stuff on the inside of it.
It like
That's,
collapses
like,
a little bit.
yeah, but like the gooey tentacle portion stuff that we've encountered before with the fish monsters.
Yeah.
It's like it was like this when it was still alive.
Oh my.
I killed it to bring it here. It has poisoned the lake. It seems to be contagious. It spreads. It is killing the wildlife, is killing nature, is killing the lakes. I must stop it somehow.
Oh no, that's awful. Well, if you're comfortable leaving it, and she looks over at the large guy again, who again just sort of nods his head. Then maybe after the shop closes tonight or tomorrow, I could take a better look at it and see if maybe I can figure something out. But it's not really my area of expertise.
But you would try?
I would. It's not a problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I close it, put it on the counter, and just push it over. It's like,
She
I
takes it
thank you.
and she takes a piece of like large parchment and sort of like wraps it around it, yeah, and picks up a piece of chalk. She's like, "What's your name?"
My name Toby.
Toby. And she like writes very largely on it. Kunskap.
Yeah.
You notice there is a very subtle reaction as Toby gives his name to this woman, not from her, but from the gentleman beside her, Toby.
Toby is always very good about keeping subtle.
And she takes it and then she wraps a piece of string around it to keep the parchment on it, and she puts it underneath the thing. You hear like the sound of ice, and so it's safe to assume she's sticking against some of that ice.
Is there something that we can give you for your trouble?
Oh, well, since I'm not on the clock for it, it's really not part of my job description. If you want to give me something, I'm always happy to accept it, but I wouldn't even know what to charge. Now, if you end up needing a potion for it or something else, then maybe I'll be able to give you a number for that. But for this, I just don't know.
Yurna's just gonna pull out 2 gold and put it down and be like, "For the trouble."
Why don't you hold on to it for now until after I've gotten a look at it? I would hate to take your gold and be like, I got nothing for you.
Service rendered, even if not fruitful, is still service.
And she seems really on the fence about it. And the large guy kind of puts his hand on the 2 gold and pushes it towards her and goes, "Go on, Kana, take it. They're right. You're doing a huge service for them. It would be rude to turn away their money. Besides, everyone needs to get paid here and there." She's like, "Oh, I guess you're right, sir." Thank you. And she says to you, Girna, as she takes it and sort of first she goes to like put it in the like bag that functions as the till, and he like takes her hand and like stops her, and he's like, "No, that's for you. You're the one doing this, not the shop." She's like, "You're right, sir." She puts it away in a little, like, almost like a little snap purse that she has. It's a lot of money. I've never. I don't know if I can earn this much.
I am certain that as long as you do your best, it is well earned.
Thank you.
As that conversation is happening, Kunskap will lean down towards Aksha and tell him very quietly, the Baron recognized Toby already.
Yes, I noticed. Not sure what to do.
Would you like to take the lead on the questioning, or shall I?
I shall start. So Aksha kind of pounces over and stands next to the big human man and goes, "Baron Hadley, I presume?" "Yes."
And he makes this sort of like large sweeping motion of turning towards Aksha. His arm kind of like goes up as he like looks down, and upon seeing you again, he smiles and he goes, "Oh, I didn't see you down there at first.
Yes,
I
I'm quite
apologize for that.
'Tis all right. I am quite small.
I am the Baron Hadley. You can call me JH if you'd like. Most of my friends do. And who would you be?"
I am Aksha.
"Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Aksha." And he puts his large, sort of meaty hand down towards.
Aksha like grabs a finger, shakes his finger.
And again, he sort of like rests his hand on your shoulder and shakes it and is very, very enthusiastic.
Tiny.
I'm so sorry. Got a little ahead of myself. Oh,
Just okay.
what can I do for you, Aksha?
Aksha is looking for a friend of my mentors,
Oh,
Bryn Tolwyn. You know Bryn, yes?
Bryn. Of course I do. Bryn is an old friend of mine.
Very good. This is good news. Aksha.
What are you looking for Bryn for? That's all right.
My
You don't have
mentor.
to tell me.
My mentor has passed, and I was told to seek out Bryn for assistance
Oh,
if
well,
needed.
I'm terribly sorry to hear about your mentor. That is an absolute shame. Losing people can be absolutely heartbreaking. If I remember correctly, and you will have to excuse me, I am a bit on the older side. Bryn is not in Southreach as of present. I believe he's off gallivanting as he tends to do. He's a big traveler, that one, ever since his retirement, at least. But if you'd like, I will leave message with his estate that you are looking for him, and upon his return, perhaps something can be done. Could do you feel comfortable giving me the name of your mentor and perhaps a place where Bryn can reach you?
Yes, my mentor's name is Bryneth Calendar.
All right.
And you can leave a message with what was the name of the lady that was at the first inn that they went to? Annie? Was it Annie?
Yeah, Annie.
Annie.
It's like an ale house. They don't have like rooms or anything. But yeah.
You can leave a message with Annie at the ale house.
Oh, over in East Sea.
Yes.
Annie's a good woman. Good woman. Always with an ear to the ground, they say.
Indeed.
I will absolutely do that. I can't tell you when he'll be back. His schedule is wildly erratic very often, but whenever he is, I'm sure he will get in touch with you all. Send someone out with a message to his estate when I return home.
Aksha is much appreciated.
And what of your friends? Are they here for moral support?
Matter of speaking, Kunskap will step from behind a shelf and
Scare the living Jesus out of this man.
and just kind of peer up and down at the Baron. We are also looking for young Moscow.
Moscow. Oh, yes. What of him? How has he been?
We were hoping you could tell us. He has not been seen in quite some time.
Assume
His mother is quite distraught and has asked us for assistance in trying to locate him.
Yes, I've heard of the poor woman. It's an absolute travesty that this has happened. But as far as I'm aware, he left Southreach. I assumed he had gone home, but
That's an insight check.
sure, go ahead.
God damn it.
Yeah, he seems to be telling the truth.
That was a 9 for the listeners.
Listen, he seems to be telling the truth.
When was last time you seen Moscow?
Oh, it had to be At least 2 or 3 months ago.
If I may ask, would you perhaps know of any female elves that he associated with?
Well, I would hope so, yes. He often would speak with my assistant.
I see.
Why? Has he not shown up anywhere still?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, that is incredibly concerning.
Uh, we had found out that he had spent at least 2 nights at the Temple of Osanti, and they had mentioned seeing him with this female elf who you believe might be your assistant.
How about this? He says as he kind of looks back over at Kana, who is just completely out of her depth at this point. He goes, "Why don't we go discuss this on a walk? We can traipse our way through Upper West Seat, and that way we won't disrupt business here, and we can have our conversation. Potentially away from what I'm hoping would not be, but could be the wrong set of ears."
Makes sense, and we thank you for your time.
Of course, not just now, but at any point, if there's anything I can do to help with this, please do not hesitate to let me know.
Want me inside check that?
Sure.
Well, as we were.
That's a 2, right?
Exactly.
That's a 2. That's a big old 2.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, no reason to doubt it.
Where's that?
Oof.
He's leading us into a trap.
I'll be fine. Be fine.
Yeah. And so unless there's anyone who's going to give pause or reason not to, he leads the group of you out of the shop and just begins sort of slowly walking the streets of Upper West Seat.
Poonskop will walk next to them with their hands behind their back.
And every so often he like has to pause what he's saying or how he's addressing you to sort of wave or acknowledge someone else. It becomes clear through your walk that the Baron is very well known, widely respected gentleman about town, about the city. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Yes, this has been an issue apparently in this town of the denizens being, especially those who are new to the area, to be suddenly vanished. We think that the young Moscow is caught up in something. I'm sure you've heard of the recent attack by what can only be described as fish people a couple of days ago.
Yes, I had heard about that. You think that it's all connected?
I find it odd that a sudden attack by creatures no one has seen or heard of coming to congruence with a rash of disappearances to be not connected at all, to be interesting. So I do not rule out that they are somehow disconnected.
That is a very clear logical assumption. And you have reason to think that other disappearances are connected to this too. I mean, people come and go through Southreach all the time.
Not suddenly, and not when they are actually looking for work. We have one case of one individual who was suddenly very happy about his prospects here in town, including Moscow, who had no reason to leave with the investment that you were giving him, as well as a couple of others who had some stake in staying where they were.
Well, my understanding for Moscow was his plan was to learn what he could here and then take that back to his home where he was going to open a shop. And the agreement that he and I had been working on was that I would help fund his time here learning and then pay for him to open his shop and send him money for the first year. And then he would begin sending me returns on that based on a percentage we had worked out for the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, he now didn't. No one saw him leave here, and he definitely didn't make it home.
Then I wonder where he ran off to with my gold.
Well, that's just the thing, though, is that he is not the first to come here and leave before finishing the things that they were meant to do. There have been young people who have come looking for an apprenticeship for fishing, but vanished right before they got their apprenticeship, or people who were looking for a caravan to go north and yet vanished before the caravan left.
That's incredibly disconcerting. How long do you think this has been going on?
What we have seen, it looks like at least a year, probably a little longer.
There's a moment where he's clearly like trying to put pieces of something together.
Kunskap will suddenly move in front of the Baron and look him in the eyes before cocking their head and saying, "Yes, we also think that your son might be involved."
So there's a moment when you first step in front of the Baron where he almost just walks over you, and considering the size discrepancy, he very well could just walk over you until he notices you're there. And it's in that moment, as your eyes meet and you say that he just stops. And there's this almost carousel of emotions that go through his eyes. And Kunskap, since you're staring him directly in the face and have a passive perception of 16, you can pretty clearly make it out that there's just this confusion and sorrow, sadness and frustration, a little bit of anger, perhaps at the bluntness with which you did this, that all sort of convalesce. He goes, "What do you know about that?"
All we know is that he has vanished. We haven't gotten any other information besides that.
And you think-
considering the others all were suddenly vanished as well, it'd be interesting if he was not somehow connected.
All of the others that went missing were young, able-bodied young adults. And I assume this fits his description.
Does. And there's just a few moments of silence and clear sadness in his eyes. He kind of just looks off. And then he goes, "If this is something that you honestly think is possible, then I would love to hear everything that you have to say." I have a few things I do have to take care of about town. The city is a living, breathing organism, and because of my role within it, it is incredibly important that I do the things I need to do each and every day, lest things fall into a chaos of sorts. But I would absolutely like to hear more of this. Do you think perhaps tonight you could join me at my manor, my estate, and we can discuss this further because I would like to hear everything that you have to say about this in as much detail as you have to share and to offer whatever help I can.
Unfortunately, we already have another meeting of which we need to meet tonight. However, I do counter propose breakfast tomorrow.
Absolutely. What time would you like to arrive? I will ensure that the guards at the Southern Amber Gate, as well as my own personal, are aware of the time that you will be coming and that you will be coming so that you can be permitted entry and escorted to my home.
I think 10 o'clock would be good enough. I will send word, or someone in our party will send word if that changes.
And he since Kudskop, you were the one who brought this up and did a lot of this communication, he extends a hand to you.
Which hand are they offering?
The right hand.
Okay. So the non-bloodied hand will reach out.
Yeah, that never got wrapped or anything, did it?
No.
Kudskop would have wrapped the arm, but wouldn't have
Good.
cleaned
Oh, sure.
So the unbloodied hand reaches out and clasps theirs.
And he shakes it very firmly and he goes, "Thank you so much for coming to me with this." And then his grip tightens a bit and he leans in and he goes, "But I will assure you, if this is some kind of cruel joke, it will not be forgotten."
Kudskop leans back in and says, "I don't know if you've noticed, but I am not one for jokes."
And he pats the back of your hand. And he goes, "I sincerely hope that's true. Nothing would make me happier than true closure here."
Kudskop just nods and takes a step back.
I have two of your names, and you have mine. But what of the rest of you?
I am known as Kudskop Soka.
Rory.
You're not.
All right. I deeply, deeply appreciate you coming to me with this and hope that we can find an answer together. There should be no issue getting in at the Southern Gate. But if there is one, and for any reason you are incapable of arriving, I will be here. Well, I apologize. This is quite a lot to take in. I will be at the Bottle and Gold tomorrow at noon. And you can find me there and we can deal with any guards who create any issues with you getting where you need to be. But hopefully I will see you in the morning.
There's the slightest nod from Kudskop before they turn and begin walking. What time is it at this point?
With all the travel and stuff and the probably like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon at this point.
Kudskop will mention lunch for anyone who wants it.
All right.
Kind of wander off.
Thank you. We shall see you in the morning.
I hope so. I will see you then, and we will find a way to resolve this matter.
And Bjorn is going to take her leave.
Cool.
Yeah, and the Baron sort of uh, anyone who's still looking back or is there sees the Baron sort of take a moment to and then go on about his day.
As the rest of the group joins up with Kuhnskap, they will turn to them and say, "We have several hours to kill before we have to meet with the Hand. I wonder, however, with the information we do have from the Hand, if the Baron's estate is the target. I do suggest that if that is the case, that we go to the Baron with a trade in mind before we continue."
Perhaps. Although I'm not too concerned from the reputation that the Baron seems to have, I doubt that he would be hoarding some things that would help the people.
It's only if he knows that such assistance would be garnered from an item.
This is
But we shall come across that bridge when we do.
Is our group close to Annie's?
Hmm?
Relatively close?
What was that?
Is our group close to Annie's? The pub,
No,
or
you guys are
is
on the
it
other
too
side
far?
of the city.
Mm.
Yeah, it'll be about an hour plus walk to get back to Annie's.
If you need to do something extra, we will join you.
No, I was just thinking maybe Annie's might have more information since we have not been, and maybe ask Moscow's mom more questions. But if it's too far, then that can wait.
We have time.
Plus, we have to walk all the way back around for nightfall, correct?
Yes. So to travel from where you are to where you are staying for the night, you would be going back all the way around the city. However, you also coming down from West Seat can make a straight line to the walls instead of potentially going from West Seat to East Seat and then coming back and then going back again.
Since we are already in the area, we can visit Spotlight Row and perhaps ask some questions about the names on the list, since I see that one of them was working there.
Yes, this would be good.
This does seem like a good idea.
That's where we are headed.
Okay. So instead of lunch. Nice. Okay.
Neither here nor there for Kieran.
That's fair. Yeah. At least two of you don't care.
I ate 2 breakfasts.
Oh, that's true. Ooh.
Scott starting to look at Toby with suspicion. What doppelganger has taken their place?
I don't know, man. After 6 or 7 blood ales, you just don't have room anymore.
I know. Oh my god. I would like to say that I didn't actually say I was taking a bathroom break at any point in time, but I took a bathroom break. Okay?
Sure.
It was implied.
Give me one moment. Pain. Come on. There we go. Sorry, the Foundry was once again choosing to not obey me. And when that happens, it gets reset. There we go.
Derek.
What?
Like Derek.
Derek. Poor Derek. Maximum Derek. Let me just grab a note real quick. Bum, bum. Okay. So the walk to the entertainment district, Spotlight Row as it's called here in Southreach, is not a particularly long one, especially from where you are presently in Upper West Seat. There is, again, this very clear distinction between this part of the city and where you had been spending most of your time prior. And that only becomes more and more apparent as you reach Spotlight Row. Off in the distance, beyond large gilded gates, you can see the district of Ambergate separated from the rest of the city, but those homes are fairly massive, and even the small ones are beautiful, more works of art than strictly just buildings. Spotlight Row itself cuts kind of a happy medium between the two, with very grandiose, large buildings that are, clearly theaters, some larger than others, and thus able to present more interesting and perhaps more well-known shows listed upon the marquees that they keep out in the front, whereas some of the smaller buildings have even sort of an outside stage for some of them, creating like an outside theater area. And as you walk through, you see one of these buildings has troupe currently, you assume, practicing one of the plays that is currently set to air or show, rather, at the theater that night. And further to the back at the end of Spotlight Row are some establishments that are for a different form of entertainment. In fact, a few different forms, if you would, running the gamut from companionship to other forms of ways to forget your ails for the time being. Though, again, safely tucked away at the end of Spotlight Row, lest it is seen and discussed by most company. I assume because of your interest in the list that you are looking for Galdier's Theater. Right, and Galdier's Theater is here. If you look on the map, I've pinged it for you. And as you approach, Galdier's Theater, again, is kind of a medium between a lot of these places. Across from much larger theater that seems almost like a gladiatorial arena in how it's designed, Galdier's Theater is smaller and feels a little more homey than most of these places, where most of them make sweeping, loud statements visually. Galdier's seems like a cozy place. The make of the place is the very traditional colors that you would see in Lysantis. There's silvers and blues of different shades and hues, and outside the front is a like painted image of a woman looking wistfully off into the distance, and a man reaching out for her. And the title of the play that currently is being featured here, which is The Loss of Hope. And then under that, it says a thrilling tale of love, betrayal, and heartbreak. And there are, no one's really going in or out, which is not surprising, as the show times listed are all later in the evening. However, there is a halfling with a small broom sort of sweeping away any of the dirt that has accumulated outside of the theater.
Should let someone else take charge on this one.
Feel like I would scare the small child almost as much as you.
That's rude.
Perhaps Akshay would like to take point?
Akshay can try. Try and use persuasion and talk to this person
Yeah. What do you want to say?
with his giant, big Orby eyeballs. Akshay's gonna approach and be like, "Hi, Hale.
Hello.
Could you help Akshay with a problem?"
Well, that that depends on the kind of problem you have. If it's a problem with boredom, absolutely. Ticket sales are right inside. It's really easy to go pick one up, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
Okay, you work here, so this is good. Yes, Akshay needs help finding a person. I was wondering if you had information. on
Oh,
this
isn't
person.
everyone looking for someone? I completely understand that. Me, myself, oh, I've spent most of my life trying to find someone. Perfect somebody. Really, that's what the play's about. You should definitely come check it out.
Perhaps sometime. But I was wondering if you knew Cirrus.
Cirrus? Oh yeah, I knew Sirius. Sirius was good people. Didn't talk very much, but I guess that's kind of how it is. I don't know. I've never really met any other Trier before, so it's just kind of a guess.
Yes, my friends and I are looking for Cirrus because Cirrus has gone missing, and we were wondering if you knew where he might be, or when was the last time you saw him?
Oh, yeah. Last time I saw Sirius was about a week and a half ago. I figured. I mean, well, Gladier said that. Galdier said that he went home.
And Galdier is the owner?
Yeah, it's named right on the banner. Galdier's Theater.
Great, thank you. This was very helpful.
Not a problem.
Would there be any way I could speak to Galdier or find Galdier to talk to them?
Maybe. I mean, so Galdier's usually pretty busy because she, is in charge of everything. She's the director. She's the writer. She's the teacher. So she's usually pretty busy. But we could see. We could go find out.
Oh, this would be very helpful. Yes.
I will say, just between you and me, probably Galdier would be a lot more forthcoming if she knew that you had tickets and were fans.
This is good to know. Thank you. Group, do we want to go to a play?
Ooh, Toby has never been to a play.
As has I.
I'm down for that.
I will join for such a show, I believe.
Wonderful. Well then, let's head in. You guys can buy tickets. I'll go let her know, let Galdier know that you want to speak with her and that you're paying customers, and we can make work.
It's most excellent. Thank you. What is your name?
I'm Bolpy.
Baldy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baldy. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. And Bolpy leads you guys into the.
Oh, I thought you said Baldy.
Baldy.
The kids would appreciate that.
Baldy.
But Bolpy leads you guys into the theater. Leads you guys into the theater and up to another halfling, nice, relatively young woman, and goes, "Yeah, they wanna get tickets for. We have two showings tonight. One is at 6:30 and one is at 9."
I believe we will have to take the earliest showing then. Yes.
6:30.
All right. Yeah, they want tickets for the 6:30 show. I'm going to leave them in your capable hands. I'm going to go talk to Galdir because they want to meet with her. And she like shoots him an expression, and he's like, whatever. It's got to do with Cirrus. Yep. And then walks off. When he walks to the end of this, like, so the whole floor is carpeted, and there are these like pillars that line the inside, and each one has hanging on it a poster of what you can assume are old shows. And as he gets to the end of the long like hall, he pulls open a set of double doors, and you can sort of see inside is the theater proper, and there are some people on stage in the midst of doing things. And then there's a voice that you kind of can hear, but not really make anything out as the doors swing closed. The halfling woman looks over and kind of points a finger at each of you. And then she points to a sign that says 2 gold.
Yes.
I'll pick up the tickets.
Okay.
So yeah, Yurna will go and pay for us.
So you give her 10 gold?
Yeah.
She takes it and she counts it.
Yurna's head kind of goes back in a slightly affronted sort of gesture.
Well, Girna, you have to understand that a lot of the currency in which you are paying is old.
Yeah.
And the way that it has been minted and stamped is not necessarily the way that gold is nowadays.
Sure, but she's not thinking about that. She's
Sure,
just
sure.
like, fuck you, my gold is real.
And after she takes the time to bite test every piece, taps them against the counter, and she just kind of tosses them in a bag, and then she pulls off 5 tickets and rips them and hands you. It's like they're sort of like that wide. They have the name of the play written on it, written by Galdir Osteria, and then she passes the strip of tickets to you, Girna.
Yurna takes the strip and then hands one to each of her companions, and then goes, one of you bite this to make sure it is real.
And the halfling, she just kind of like rolls her eyes and goes back to this book that she had at her desk.
I think if Toby bites it, there's not much left of this.
Oh. So after a couple of moments, Bopi comes back and goes, all right, so I spoke with Galdir, Galdir, and she's busy and says that she can't see you right now.
Is this individual standing somewhere we can see them?
No, you assume that she is inside the next room. Or do you mean Bopi?
No, I meant.
Okay, yeah. Galdir is in the next room.
Kunskapsoker will come up to them and look down at them and say, I do believe the idea was that we spoke to them after paying. Are
Well,
you saying it's no longer the case?
That is what I'm saying, yeah. Unfortunately. It's very sad.
Insight check.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's a natural 20.
Nice. What is that in total?
26.
Oh, yeah, he's lying. Well, he's lying. What he's saying is untrue. However, for the 26, you also know he's not maliciously lying. He's fucking with you. He's making a joke for the sake of giving you a hard time, but has every intention of taking you to her. But he's keeping a straight face.
Yurna's red lenses start very slowly descending.
Toby walks up next to Kunsap and looks down, way down, and is like, when can we see her?
Probably after the show. She's usually very busy. Probably tomorrow.
The red eyes begin to glow.
He takes a moment and his eyes kind of dart between each of you. And he's like, guys, come on. I'm just fucking around. Y'all cannot take a joke. Jeez. Yeah, come on. She'll see you in her office right now. Let's go. No sense of humor.
I was about to make this halfling woman eat my gold.
As we're walking behind this individual, Kudskop turns to Toby and says, "Remind me to have the rats take a visit to this halfling when we get back."
Toby kind of pats Kunskap and is like, haha, good joke.
And then Yurna reads in, no, but really sends him.
Whew. Yikes. Okay, yeah, and he leads you into the English. He leads you into the theater itself. And it's this large theater where, you know, there's a bunch of lights, sort of like torches that have been surrounded by some kind of glass and are clearly enchanted in a way to direct some of the torchlight. And they kind of are aimed forward at the stage. There's a bunch of seats everywhere, obviously, in this sort of curved half circle, as well as a second and third tier, although the ceilings are rather low, leading you to believe they're probably specifically for some of the smaller species that live here in Southreach. You also see, again, more of the larger versions, rather, of the posters that had been hanging on the pillars sort of along the walls. And one thing that Kunskap, Rory, and Girna, the three of you, notice is that they all seem to be written by the same person. All of them are written by Galdir Osteria. There are people sort of dancing and jumping across the stage as they practice their stuff, and then you go through a door beside the stage, and that takes you into a back area where there's a long hallway with a few doors, some of which are open, obvious dressing rooms. Those are rooms specifically for costumes and whatnot. And then the last door in the back is a set of double doors. And Bopey stops and knocks for a moment and then pushes it open and leads the group of you in. And sitting at the desk, sitting behind the desk, looking at the group of you, is this green scaled dragonborn woman who is clearly in the later years of her life. She has a pair of like half-rimmed spectacles sitting on the furthest point of her face, with like a beaded strands on either side that lean down and go around her neck. She's wearing these very bright, very loud, frilly colors, and sort of just tilts her head so she can look through the glasses at the group of you, and she goes, "Burpee, darling, is this them?" He goes, "Yep, this is." They wanted to talk about, Cirrus. And she goes, "Oh yes, Thank you. You may go now. And he goes, all right, fine. And he just like completely done with her, just walks out. He goes, please make yourselves comfortable. And her eyes sort of linger on Toby.
So, what's the seating arrangement to get in this room?
There are like 3 chairs.
Okay, Toby is not gonna sit in one of them.
Sure.
Unskop is standing next to the door, leaning against the door frame with their arms crossed.
Well, aren't you a scary one? You know, I wrote a character who looked like you once.
Okay.
Are the rest of the 3 of you standing? Is anyone taking a seat?
I'll take a seat.
Sure, we'll sit.
We'll take a seat to be polite.
And actually, you said you're gonna sit.
Yes.
Toby will be standing like kind of in between behind some of these chairs to not block other people, but I'm also not blocking Kunskap's view of the desk and everything.
So,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon, doll.
We were hoping that you could tell us a few things about Cirrus before she went missing.
Yes, he left me quite high and dry, and I was not very appreciative of it. But I suppose he had made the money he needed and went off home. Really quite a shame. The least you could do is give in your week's notice. I am running a very busy establishment here.
Well, may I ask, obviously this has cost you quite a lot of trouble. How long was Sirius working here? That, his duties could not be easily worked around.
Well, he was working here for about a month. Give or take a few days, perhaps, but even with manual labor, it takes time to find a replacement.
Of course. And forgive me if this is a rude question. I'm sure that you are compensating him quite generously, but may I ask what kind of pay he was receiving?
Why are you looking for a job?
No, but it is my understanding that they were saving money in order to help with their home. And with only a month's work doing what I assume is menial tasks of manual labor, might not quite be enough time to save up that kind of money.
Wait a moment. Where exactly are you getting this information from? And why are you looking into this?
Well, we have been asking around town about many different people and things, but it started with, I don't know if you know her or have seen her, a halfling woman named Lena, who is looking for her son Moscow.
I don't believe I have. And what do you think this has to do with Sirius?
I'm inciting checking this whole entire conversation.
Yeah, sure. What are you looking for?
Any lying signs that they know more than what they are letting on?
Sure.
$19.
Doesn't seem like she's lying. You can tell that she's pretty miffed about him having left, and there's some like shortness to her desire to discuss it based on that. But it doesn't seem like she's being untruthful, if not perhaps a bit spiteful.
Well, as we have been looking for Moscow, we have heard of other people who have gone missing in the area, and so that perhaps they might be connected.
Why don't you roll me a not perception, sorry, a persuasion?
Not my best skill, but I will try.
Charisma bot, activate.
I also don't have my regular dice, and these dice have been rolling horrible for me. But let's
Nah,
give it a
you
go.
can do it.
Why don't you have your regular dice, you fool?
So I left them in the closet by accident. Okay, that's not terrible. That's 14.
Hmm. Well, I don't know anything about Moscow. Or anyone named Lena. But Cyrus was a hard worker when he was here, I suppose. But I like to think I pay him, or paid him quite handsomely. And the fact that he stopped coming clearly means he's earned enough to have gone back home to save his cows or whatever it was. I don't remember.
It seems, though, that the amount of disappearances in this town has garnered a little bit more scrutiny. I assume that as someone who lives here, you would be interested to know that employees of yours that you took specific works to make sure they were able to do what needed to be done here, you wouldn't want that to happen to other employees of yours, would you?
Roll me a persuasion.
I don't want to roll anymore because I rolled a 20, and that means I can't roll good no more.
No, you got to make up for the bad rolls the other night. A
19.
Yes, I suppose it would be incredibly disadvantageous if any of my other workers were to vanish. But it is Southridge, darling. People come and go very often. Those coming with dreams of making it big, whether it be on the stage or in the market. And unfortunately, like with most things, those dreams end up crushed. And what's left of them rarely pulls themselves together here, and so they find a small hovel or village that they can call safer, more suited for themselves home. How do you know that Sirius, along with the rest of them, aren't more of these sad stories of failure as opposed to. And she pauses for a moment and looks over at Toby, sort of like lowering her head so she can look over the tips of her glasses. Just vanished.
Excuse me, why do you keep looking at Toby like that?
Well, because you're just so pleasant to look at. You look like you'd be very soft.
Toby is somewhat soft.
Ooh. Good.
In Ursine, Kunskap will speak to Toby and say, I do believe she is attempting to enact some sort of mating ritual with you.
Toby back to Kunskop is like, oh, Toby is accounted for. How do I politely say no?
No, it's very rude. Share with the class. Please.
I apologize. I was meaning just attempting to explain to Toby that you wish to be carnally intimate with him, and that is a thing that he should work out for. Perhaps if you wish to be a little bit less vague, Toby would like to also explain to you, and Kunskap continues, like, unabashed by her reaction, that Toby is currently with someone else.
Yes, he speaks correctly. We're not attempting to be rude, just Toby did not understand. Toby is very flattered, and Toby has never seen a play before, and you seem very accomplished. However, Toby does not mean to offend. We are simply here for information and entertainment.
So she just sort of sits there, first in shock and then with a kind of a wry smile. And she reaches forward and puts her clawed fingers down on her desk and almost sort of drags herself forward over the desk and folds her hands over each other and goes, are they here in Selfridge too?
My friend, I have done everything I can for you. You are now.
No. Toby is very far from home.
Oh, how sad. Perhaps you need a little bit of warmth of your own, and since they're so far away, maybe they don't.
Water bottles. Hot bottle water bottles would work wonderfully to warm.
Toby knows that we are in possession of a potion that can keep Toby warm in any situation. Toby is okay.
But I bet since these plays are going to be amazing.
Kunskap is just kind of like arms crossed, looking back and forth, seemingly unfazed by this.
Myrna's little like cheek lights are brighter.
Furry is very uncomfortable with the school.
Arx is just like, yes, Toby, very nice. But aside from Toby, big, handsome tallness, fluffiness, when was last time you see Cirrus?
She kind of like throws herself back in her seat and pouts a little bit. It's been maybe about a month since I've seen him last.
Would you have happened to know where he was staying?
No, it doesn't concern me. I had no interest in it. Usually, unless it has to do with my work or other things. I don't keep much of an interest in the lives of those around. I find it bogs down the creative process.
But fur seems to enhance that, yes?
She shoots another pointed look at Toby and goes, sometime.
Toby, who I think is the closest to Kunskap, sees a visible, like, bouncing of the shoulders as if Kunskap is holding back laughter. Do they have any friends here that we could also speak to that you would know of? Anyone that they talk to on a regular basis?
Not that I'm aware of, but again, I probably wouldn't know anything about that. Unfortunately, my employees are quite busy ensuring that everything goes perfectly for our opening act tonight. And
Which we are
they,
very much looking forward to seeing.
oh, you have, I can assure you, never seen anything quite like it. It is a unique creative brilliance that will rock the foundation of romantic drama.
Well, if you don't mind, we would like to talk to others of your employ just to make sure that nothing has been missed.
Well, you can talk to them on their own time, but they are busy when they are here, and I am not paying them well, she says with a pointed look at Girna, for them to sit around and chat.
About the impending death of perhaps one of their cohorts?
Do you have any proof that they are dead or going to die?
Thus the word impending.
Impending generally implies confidence that it is coming. I am a writer, dear. You cannot mince words with me. It will only end in your embarrassment.
Very well. The possibility of death of them and their cohorts.
And they tell me I'm the dramatic one. The, I am not interested in having any more of my people vanish, but at the same time, you will have to find opportunities to speak with them when they are not busy working. If you would like, perhaps. And she looks back over at Toby again. Tonight, we are having a celebration after our second performance, since it is opening night. You are welcome to come then when they are not on the clock, and you can do whatever you'd like. And you can bring your friends, I guess.
Toby thanks you for that opportunity. Your work seems absolutely inspired. And Toby is like slowly inching backwards towards the door. Whoever's closest to him can see that some of the fur on his back is standing on end.
We thank you very much for your time and for the invitation and opportunity.
Of course. I will see you tonight.
As everyone is leaving, Kunskap keeps on the door frame with their arms crossed, just staring at her, and will say, "So tell me about this character you wrote that looked like me."
Tonight.
I do not think I will make it.
What a shame. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to sit here and recount you with the tale of Braxis the Cold, it will have to wait because I still have much to do if I'm going to get these. Oh, they call themselves actors, but we'll see. Into shape for the show.
Did Braxis the Cold have any connection to animals?
Well, yes, he did.
Good. Maybe perhaps tonight you and him will have something in common. And with that, Kunskap turns and leaves the room.
And the last thing you see as you turn around is just her sort of in thought. And then as you like go to walk out, you hear like a draconic snort as though it just clicked.
So Yurno's gonna put a hand on Toby and be like, "Don't drink anything that woman offers you."
Toby already drank one thing today, and Toby may never drink another thing again.
I am tiring of this constant walking and not getting anything. I do hope that our plans for tonight will alleviate this pain.
Yes, it has been rather unfulfilling. But it is only day 2.
I am remiss to watch a play put on by that woman, but I think the arrogance will poison my eyes.
I have never personally seen her play. However, I am going to have to agree with you.
My people often tell stories through, as I suppose they would call it, theater. I don't know if such productions would be anywhere like what we would see here. How long until the start of the show, and do we have any idea of how long it is?
Well, the show begins at 6:30, and the next show begins at 9. Assuming they need time to set things back up, I would guess 8 o'clock, 8:30
And when were we supposed to meet the hand?
in the evening.
After dark.
If it runs too late, I suppose we could leave at any time. What time is it now?
Like 4.
Most of these things have a intermission halfway through, so if we feel it's going to be too long, we could probably leave then.
If we do that, we might offend the mistress of this place and not be able to get into the after party.
I'm sure Toby would be able to no matter what.
Couple things Toby could probably get into.
If time becomes an issue, I think we leave and try to sort this out later. The more space I have between myself and this woman, the better I feel.
So, what do we wish to do for 2 hours?
Suggest dinner?
Something like that.
I do not know if they serve any type of food with the show.
For 2 gold a head, you would think they would.
They also may charge extra. For 2 gold, I doubt many in Southreach would be able to afford to see this play.
Well, let us find some victuals and then we shall watch a play.
Sure. So, as you guys walk, I assume the streets of Upper West Seat looking for a place to eat. You find yourselves eventually outside of a fairly large tavern that has scrawled across the top in a big banner, the Crimson Cockatoo. Um, walking in, it's a relatively loud place. There are about 25 or 30 people inside. There's a bard in the corner strumming away on a lute, and a few patrons dancing to the music. Fairly confident you could say that they have imbibed quite a bit. Some sit in a corner playing a game of cards, and at a table almost hidden in the shadow, there's a mannequin, maybe a scarecrow, dressed to look like your very stereotypical shady figure in a bar. And you notice a chalkboard behind the bar that has a number of tally marks on it, though it is not labeled in any way. There are 12 current tally marks. And as you enter, a half dwarf, half orcish woman greets you and goes, "Hello, welcome to the Crimson Cockatoo. Can I get you a table?"
Sure.
Yes, please.
Just the five of you?
Yes.
Oh, all right. And she turns and she grabs what looks like a couple of menus and motions for you to follow. She leads you through a few tables, some of which throw some pretty judgmental glances in your direction, for you are a pretty unique group of individuals, and then brings you close but not immediately directly next to the scarecrow thing in the back, and goes, "Oh, don't mind Tom. He's just cranky today." And she giggles a little bit. She seats you and hands each of you a menu. I'll be back in a bit to take your orders. Glancing through the menu, there are a couple things you notice. One is that they have sort of a list of a number of different beverages available. They have a wine, and then a couple of ales and two liqueurs that they offer, as well as a couple of things listed on the menu as options. So for the wine, there's something that they call a Bloody Dwarf Cabernet. And for the ales, there are two. There's a Fevered Panther ale and a Twisted Bucket Pilsner. For anyone who could kills for the pills. They also have something called Ghoul Vermouth and One-Eyed Rum. Looking over the food menu, you see they have a duck stew, a salad that's just listed as salad, along with rotisserie cooked sliced beef and an herb crusted fish. You notice, though, that there are no prices next to any of these things.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
You are near Spotlight Row, after all.
Spotlight is not on the prices, apparently. uh, are we all eating here? Toby's trying to figure this out because he hasn't interacted with too many menus like this before.
We cannot go walking all the way back to East Seats, so
How much do you think this is going to cost?
Why are you having money problems, Rory?
I should keep a tighter watch on my wallet.
I can cover your meal.
Look, let's see how much it is when she comes back.
I'm gonna glance over and look and say, you said his name was Tom Scarecrow?
What was that?
The name of the
Oh,
that
yeah.
you
She said his name was Tom.
yes. So I'm gonna glance over and then glance back at the table and says, Tom is alive?
How close is Tom the Scarecrow?
Like 15 feet away, not even 10 feet.
I believe that's just the decoration.
Yenna's gonna pull out her staff and hook it.
I don't think you can reach that far.
Upon seeing Girna try and fail, Toby will pull out his 10-foot pole and poke.
That could reach it. Yeah, you pull it out and you reach out and you poke it at Tom, and he just and falls to the ground with a pretty loud like thump. A number of the people in the tavern look over.
Oh,
I get
no.
up. I
He's
get up
dead.
and I go over to where Tom has fallen and kind of just like heft him up back into the thing, kind of disheveled a bit. Take whatever hat had fallen off and just kind of put it like haphazardly back on and just give him like a pat of like, okay. Go back.
What's your strength score?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
13.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he's a little bit heavy, but it's no problem for you. Yeah, you pick Tom back up, you put back, you pat him a bit. He's kind of like,
Yeah. He's
no.
fine. It's perfectly okay. It's like nothing ever happened.
Someone in the back is like, they killed Tom. And
I turn and I'm like, he's fine.
The waitress returns and as she turns back from him, she's like, shut up, Wallop. He goes, okay. Sorry about that. He's dumb.
That is unfortunate, but does occasionally happen.
He was dumb before, but got in a fight with a horse and the horse won, and he's never really been right since. He has conversations with Tom sometimes. It's sad.
Sorry to hear that.
So, have you had a chance to look over the menu? And you know what I can get you?
Scott is looking at the others.
Toby
Yeah,
is
that doesn't-
always waiting for Girna to speak first and order something, kind of suspiciously. But Toby will have the duck.
It's a good choice. Would you like anything to drink with that? Or an entree to go with the stew?
What were the wines again?
There is a bloody dwarf Cabernet.
Bloody Dwarf Cabernet.
Oh, that's a good one. Glass or a bottle?
Glass.
And she looks over and goes, and the rest of you?
I am fasting.
All right. Yes. Huh. You're already really, really thin from what I can see. Just something to keep in mind. But that's all right. I'm not gonna push.
And the gods provide me what I need. But thank you.
Are you sure, Kunskap? It might be interesting to try out the local cuisine, as I'm sure it is very different from your culture.
I am sure it is, but my answer stands.
Try the salad, I guess.
Would you like anything in that? Any meats? We have some beef. We've got a bit of the duck. We've got some salmon. Just came in from
Sure, the salmon sounds fine.
all right, perfect. You like anything to drink with that?
No, thank you.
Actually ate well this morning, so I am good. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with your stuff. Please relax, enjoy. She walks off.
Actually, I want to ask Fiori, Kunskap, and Kierna about her mentor's book, my mentor's book. I've been reading through this book many times and just recently discovered some kind of discrepancies in the writings. Perhaps maybe you could assist me later when we have more time to look over my book and see if you can help me figure this out.
Yeah, of course.
If there is anything that we can do to be helpful, it would be a pleasure.
And I'm going to ask, like, DM wise, Aksha would have detected magic on this book
Yeah,
initially, so it's not magical.
No, there's
Okay.
nothing magical about the book.
We'll take a look at it now if you don't want me to wait too long. Since I am not partaking in the meal.
Sure. And so Aksha pulls out it's a pretty thick book out of his little satchel. It's well worn, and sets it down in front of you and says, "This is my mentor's book. There's many things about his studies. Some things I don't understand, but it's very important to me."
Kunskap basically turns into a tented hood and just hunches over and begins reading.
Sure. You can roll me an investigation, and unless there's anything specific that anyone wants to do during dinner, I think we're just gonna sort of, for the sake of time, speed our way through it.
Yurna's gonna stand behind them and read over their shoulder.
Okay.
That's an 8.
You can roll me an investigation at disadvantage because Kunskap they're kind of like hunched over the book, and it's going to be hard to catch everything and not necessarily reading at the same pace. But you can roll me an investigation with disadvantage. And what did Kunskap do?
An 8.
Okay, cool. So the food comes after a while, and it's incredibly aromatic, and it's pretty good. The duck stew has like chunks of duck and barley. There's some peas, celery, and turnips in it. They really kind of went all out. And, Toby, you probably can tell that some of these things are not things you'd see grown in the immediate region. So some of this is definitely imported. The wine is kind of earthy and toasty and a little bit spicy. It's very good. It's very full bodied and robust and kind of up there in like wines that you may have had if Toby's ever had wines. This is a very refined drink. The salad is also very good. It's like romaine leaves tossed with tomatoes. There's some baby kale, olives, a little bit of like grated cheese, though you're not really sure, Brory, what kind of cheese it is exactly. And there's like nice sized chunks of what tastes like very fresh salmon in it. So the meal goes pretty well. At the end of it, you're left with a receipt, which instructs that you pay up at the counter. It's just a little handwritten like piece of parchment that has the breakdown of the bill. So the Bloody Dwarf is a 3 gold for the glass. The duck stew is another 1 gold, and the salad is the salad with salmon is 2 gold.
Kierna's gonna scoop up the receipt and go to the counter.
Toby thanks you, Girna.
Thank you.
And as Girna takes it and goes up, Girna, Kunskap, both of you have spent the meal poring over these pages, but nothing really sticks out. You know because you were told that there's something going on in this, but whatever it is that escapes you, is it because you're distracted with everything else going on? Perhaps. Maybe it's just there's too much going on around you for you to focus, but for whatever reason, none of this really jumps out at you at all. Nothing really stands out.
After a while, the book comes back up and slides back over to Aksha, and Kunskap looks over at him and says, I'm not picking up anything particular in these pages that stand out to me. Perhaps another time I'll take another look, but so far nothing.
Perhaps tonight.
I can look
Well,
through
we are
it
busy
over
tonight. Perhaps
later
tomorrow
also.
night.
Oh, yes. Thank you for looking. We can definitely check the book more later, but I appreciate it.
And what did you say, Brory?
Was just saying I'll be willing to look it over also later.
Thank you. This will be most helpful. And maybe I could borrow some paper and ink from you, Gerna, so I can do some research as well.
Of course.
And I think this is a good place for us to end tonight's session so that next time we can pick up with our fantastic, amazing, foundation shaking play.
Can't wait to see this sack of shit.
Oh god.
Well, you're going to have to wait, or at least you will, because we will see you next week as that brings this episode of Dice Trays Action to its end. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Ta-ta.